So this is just a little impromptu video about gear. So I haven't really talked much about gear on this channel before because I don't really know a huge amount about gear in comparison to many of these guys on YouTube channels and stuff. I'm not one to kind of know which chip is inside each pedal or the kind of transistors in these kind of pedals, but I just get something and I either like the sound of it or I don't, and I sit there and fiddle until I find something that I think sounds alright. So for the last 15 years, and in all the videos that I've been doing so far on my channel up to the last one, I was using this very old TC Nova system. It's a little bit dusty there, but this thing's an absolute tank. This thing's been dropped from quite high and it survived. It was second-hand when I got it. As you can see, it's missing some of the screws on the outputs there, but it still works great. And it's wonderful. It's got an analog drive on it, and I think the rest of it is digital. And the drive sounded really nice. I was really happy with the drive through my solid state Henriksen jazz amp over there. But obviously with these analog drives, it very much depends on the kind of amp that you use them with. As I found through any tube amp I would play on, then the drive didn't quite cut it for me. So recently I was inspired to experiment with some new gear. Kind of David Beebe was playing his neural DSP, I think, and he captured these sounds, and I just thought they sounded so good that I thought, well, I need to experiment with something. So I ended up going down a little bit of a rabbit hole when it comes to the gear, and I ended up with an HX Stomp. Well, that was the start of it anyway, but we'll get into that. So yeah, so I got this HX Stomp, and I have to be honest, I'm really impressed with it. So I'll do a specific video on the HX Stomp at some point. This is more just an overview of my current setup and kind of where I want to go with it. So I didn't want to sacrifice the clean tone, and I thought, you know, in my simplistic mind, I thought, oh well, digital is going to be sacrificing a clean tone. So whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but I went for the Dream for the clean tone, the UA Dream. So I've got the Dream and the HX Stomp there, and I already had these, the Boss RV200 and Boss DD200, which I wasn't using because I was just using the TC multi-effects here for everything before. But yeah, I've hooked them all up here, and I've got a G2 GigRig switcher here. So I may put an image up of all this stuff on the screen so you can see how it's all the carnage I've got over here with all the various wires and stuff. But obviously the G3's out now, but on a jazz musician's budget, the G3 is quite an expense. So I managed to get this G2 switcher for £410, including postage. I gave a rather cheeky offer on Reverb to someone, and he accepted it. So and the G2 is wonderful. It's got all these buffers in, and it just makes everything sound better. Everything you plug through that thing makes it sound better. Obviously the G3 is going to have all this extra MIDI capability, but if I want that, then I can always buy an external little MIDI switcher as well, and it comes in within my jazz musician's budget, which is always nice. So I'm just going to go through some of the sounds I'm experimenting around with. So for the clean, I'm using, for the clean chord sound at the moment, I'm using the Dream, and then that's going into the HX Stomp, and then on the HX Stomp I've split an AB splitter here, and I've got a small percentage of the signal going through an acoustic simulator, just to kind of give just the top of the sound, just a little sparkle to me. So this is the kind of clean sound that I've got going on. So you can hear there, if I play single note lines, then it kind of sounds a little bit thin, which I don't like. Okay, so I wouldn't use this sound for single note line soloing. I'd probably just go direct through the amp with a bit of delay, and I'm using this Cornell Plexi amp here, just a 5-watt tube amp. But it's a lovely little amp. So, but I love the sparkle it gives the sound, that acoustic simulator from the Line 6, and as I say, just the Dream through there. So that's the clean sound that I'm really happy with. I still need to do a lot of experimenting around with it, and I want to add on some synth layers to these sounds. And lots of things. For the chords, I would quite like to shave off the attack with a POG or something like Kurt, but I won't go down that rabbit hole for the single note lines. Otherwise, you know, you never live to see another day after that. So, but that top end's all coming from that small amount of acoustic simulator that I've got from the HX Stomp there. So that is that's the clean tone. Obviously it's going through the delays and reverbs too. I find if I use the delays and reverbs on the HX Stomp, it's great, but it's not as good as having them through separate pedals for whatever reason. But you know, obviously I'm no expert, so you know, I would refer to someone else for guidance on this stuff. This is just me having fun with my pedals, so. So yeah, that's the clean tone. And then for the overdrive tone, obviously for the clean tone, I'm on the rhythm pickup, and I'm on about 8, or no, maybe it's about 7 on the volume, and again maybe a 6 on the tone, just to shave off the top of the sound, because with these acoustic simulators on and everything, it can get a little bit shrill. So that's the clean tone I've got going on at the moment. So for the lead tone, as I say, I was completely addicted to this TC pedal through that solid state amp, but it wasn't scalable because it's only a little, it's only got a 10-inch speaker in it, my Henriksen. It's one of the old original jazz amps, and it sounds lovely, but for a small jazz gig it's wonderful, but I wanted something that was a bit more versatile and that I could plug into any amp and get a tone that I was happy with. So I had Fractal Axe-Fx in the past, a long time ago. I had Axe-Fx 2. I'm sure they're a lot better now, but at the time I just was never happy with them, and I ended up selling it, and I just went back to my little cheapy TC Nova system there. But then when I finally bit the bullet and bought this HX Stomp about a month ago or something, I have to be honest, I'm really super impressed with the sound that I managed to get out of this thing and how intuitive it was to use this pedal. So obviously, as I say, I'll do a more in-depth video on the specific settings that I'm using, and I may even export the patch or something, or whatever you call the setting that I'm using, and then put it on my Patreon or something, so you can experiment with these sounds that I'm using. But I'll see. All this technical stuff's a little bit beyond me at the moment. But this is the tone that I came across. That's the tone I'm using there. So that's literally just the HX Stomp through the delay and reverb, the Boss pedals, and yeah, and that's what it was like. I find there's a little bit more front end than there was with my TC pedal. There's a little bit more front end to the sound, and I really like that. Obviously, I'm just running it quite quiet at the moment for my neighbour's sake. It's a little bit late now, but yeah, it's a I'm really happy with the sound. I've gone pretty low down on my volume here. I've gone to about, again, 7, 8, and I'm really low on the tone. I'm at like a 5 or something. But again, if I don't do that, I'll put it up. Well, it gets just a bit too shrill, a bit too in your face. I mean, it's fine. But I want it a little bit milder, you know? So I just roll that off on the guitar itself. Maybe that's a little bit too much. You can sit here and fiddle for hours. So when I bought the HX Stomp, I also downloaded this little package that this guy had done for it. A guy called, he's got a channel called Modern Guitar, and he'd done these Alan Holdsworth lead patches and chordal patches, and I was really impressed with it. They'd done such a great job on them. It really sounded to me like the Alan Holdsworth time, and obviously I've listened to a fair bit of Alan, so but when I downloaded them, they sound great, but they didn't really work on my guitar, because obviously this has got completely different pickups on to the Alan Holdsworth models. It's far lower output and everything. So it was nice to have a look at those tones, but in the end of the day, I didn't feel they sounded good when I used them. That's not a complaint at his effects by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, it was nice to see what he'd done. It was a good for learning, and they were only cheap. It was about €7 or something. So I really can't, you know, he'd done a wonderful job, and I was glad to check them out. But as I say, I ended up going back to this sound that I'd made, and I kind of realised I wasn't really looking for a sound that totally copied Alan Holdsworth's. Anyway, obviously there's going to be an influence for what I'm going for, but But yeah, this is I ended up very happy with this sound. So yeah, so that's the current rig. So it's an absolute mess at the moment. As I say, I've got cables all over the place. I've got an extender out the wall, and then multiple what do you call them again? Multiple plugs to plug each pedal in. So I need to get a proper power supply. I need to get some kind of pedal board. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll do some videos on my pedal board journey, and I kind of want to, you know, we're joining the space race here. I want to try and build some kind of massive space station pedal board. That's the aim. So I've got lots of ideas in my head, and I just want to have fun and experiment around with, yeah, trying to build a pedal board. So I'll put some videos up on my pedal journey. As I say, the next thing will be a boring video, I'm afraid. It's going to be power supply, so I'm looking at the Strymon or the chalks. So we'll probably get that, and then I'll mix it, and I'll get some temporary pedal board, maybe from a certain affordable Chinese website, just for the moment, just before I can get something more long term. And yeah, and then we'll get on to buying some more pedals, which will be fun. But I'm also trying to do my driving test as well, so I can't spend all my money on pedals, but because I need something to be able to take them around and hopefully gig this stuff with a trio with some of my own music. So that's the aim. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This is just a short little video on having fun with some pedals and what the sounds I'm experimenting around with at the moment. And yeah, the next video I'll do a lesson on just a normal minor blues. I know I did the video on 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐜's minor blues, but that's just because I like the progression and I wanted to play on that. But I'll do a lesson on how I approach a normal minor blues, as it was a really important thing that I looked at for playing over changes. It was a really nice way of making sure I was highlighting the changes. So it's a great progression to practice that on, as most of us can already play over a minor blues, because you can play over it purely with just the pentatonic scale. So it's nice to be able to go into it a little bit more specifically and highlight the changes in maybe a more jazz or a fusiony kind of way. So yeah, I'll be uploading that video next week, and yeah, as I say, there'll be more videos on pedals coming up soon, and we'll do another guitar ramble out with Alfie at some point. We went to the beach today, but I thought I would do a little video on the old pedal board setup. I suppose we've got other things that we could talk about. I'll quickly say, as far as strings on this thing, well, my favourite strings are Optima strings, but they're a little bit on the pricey side at the moment. I think I've just got 𝐷𝐷arias on here, so I've got a set of 11s until the E string on the top, where I've got a 12 on the top E string, because otherwise I find it gets too twangy. So putting a 12 on the top E string really fattens up the sound for me. And I'm always changing picks, but at the moment I'm using a fancy blue chip pick here, and I'm happy with it. But yeah, I change my plectrums probably more than I change my socks. So yeah, I don't think there's much consistency to the plectrum I use. But anyway, guys, we'll do some more gear talking soon. Yeah, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take it easy.